I have Amazon or
How? Well, I guess it is a celebration, so.
I think your hands are up.
You look familiar. Jesse? That's the one. Nice to meet you. How's the
There's a couple choices, and they're both phenomenal.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, I should probably get something. It's good to finally meet you, brother. We got to chat sometime.
No. Marta. Busy Marta. I'm just going to say hi to you again because I've got the camera rolling now.
I don't take my camera.
Well, I did have it rolling.
Sorry.
Thanks, guys. We got people feasting. How was your trip, man?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah?
Yeah. A lot of driving. Still good.
Oh, I know, man. Lots of driving. We got Dale. Everybody's chilling. How's the food? I'm starving.
Oh, no, the pork was good.
Have you eaten? Have you eaten?
Get it while it's still warm.
Joyce! I forgot to meet you! Hi!
Hi, Randy. Chris, nice to meet you.
Chris, Randy, Chris. Hey guys.
Are you filming us?
Of course I am.
Okay. Thanks for your
There's Susan.
introduction,
Hey,
right?
Susan.
Hey, about time I got to meet you in person.
Really? Have we not ever met in person?
Yeah, it's good.
Camera apparently. Okay. Well, to me, Bob was a great guy. He showed up to all the meetups. He was always one of the first ones to say he was going to be there. I know most of us felt like we had some kind of form of connection when we talked to him. He would listen. He would pretty much talk to anybody. And if anybody needed some help, he was one of the first ones to, stand up and be there. I have a lot of memories with Bob because he would show up to most of the meetups, and the biggest thing that would stick out is just the fact that he would show up, be there, and he just would laugh along with whatever was going on, humble about everything, and just a good guy all around. I mean, it's hard to say little things and pin out certain stories just because some of the things were just so personal, but at the end of the day, he was just one of those genuine souls, different person that just you don't know and probably will have a hard time coming around and fighting again. But I'm too nervous to talk anymore, so here's Lori.
So I would just love, before we just continue our stories, if we could just have a moment of silence to remember Bob. I think that would be appropriate. And my initial memory, the first memory, is me laughing my butt off because Bob took a time lapse of us where a bunch of photographers at Empire Ranch all ended up showing up, and he did a time lapse of us just taking pictures. He took a series of pictures of us being silly and trying to jump in unison. And that was his idea to do the time lapse, and we never could get it right. So his time lapse is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, because you just see us just like doing this because we could never get into the air at the same time. And that was Bob to me. And I'm going to make this short and sweet. And by the way, this is Bob's favorite beer, pink peanut butter milk stout. Belching Beaver. It's not my style. This is for you, Bob, for sure. Guys, we've got some sunlight left, so we'd love for you guys to just share in his story, something that is in your heart so that it becomes in all of our hearts. So feel free to come up, Bricka.
Hey, you guys. I probably lurked these two groups for 2 years. I was too shy and embarrassed of my lack of skills to come forward, and Bob and Greg were one of the first people to contact me. I posted some iPhone shots, and they were like, where is that? And it was the 3 Cienega bridges, which actually Bob's kind of famous for, doing his Milky Way there. And one of the reasons that I joined was because I saw Bob's work. And Bob's work spoke to my soul. It was food for my soul. I was going through a really hard time. And literally, his work was food for my soul. Nature is my church. And when I couldn't get out in nature, I could always count on Bob's work to stand in for me. And to the point where when the Catalinas were engulfed in clouds and fog, I would post on my Facebook page, Foggy Mountain pictures of the Catalina stat, Bob Tenor. And he would always respond, either I'm there doing it or dang it, I'm at work. So, yeah, that was my relationship with Bob.
My name's Marta Toci. I met Bob this year, and we instantly, like two magnets, clicked together and were inseparable until the last breath that he took. He loved being part of the Milky Way and the Storm Chasers. He loved his job at EEC. He was humble, but he was floored at the amount of people that he knew, and he would love this party. He would be the first one having a great time here. And I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for giving his love up to him and to keeping him in your memories, because I know I'll never forget him. He was unique, loving, special, funny, kind, generous, a little stingy too. Frugal, I should say frugal. He made me pay on our first date. And then he felt so bad he never let me do it again. He was a phenomenal photographer. And I give credit to his being a civil engineer, of being able to see the layers in a CAD program and being able to analyze things, for him to be able to see this photography in a different way. He inspired almost all of us, if not all of us, and I know that he will continue to inspire us forever. And I just love seeing all of you here tonight.
We'll do that right now. And before the next person comes up, because I'm very forgetful, there is someone here also who has the distinction of being the only person to be Bob's mother-in-law. And we want to just honor her for being here as well. Thank you so much. What a blessing. Now, I'm going to... Thank you so much.
Love you!
Thank you so much. I'm going to read something that Bob's sister, right, Marta? Yes. Bob's sister sent to her for us to read because the family is in Minnesota, I think. They're very far away.
Back east.
Yes, back east. It says, please thank our brothers, friends from me, Bill, and Barry at your gathering in his memory this afternoon. Let them and you know how much it means to us that they and you made his life better. Also, when we as a family gather to remember, we each take turns saying out loud a favorite memory. It brings us closer and honors those we have lost. If your group is open to doing this, we would love if you taped it for us to view, which we are doing. We are not there in person, but we are there in heart. We miss him so much too. So.
For setting this all up. Brooke made a great comment when she said Bob and Greg, because Bob and Greg were like side by side, right? And that's what we remember. We remember. So I first met them side by side when they snuck up on me on a hill overlooking Saluda on a storm chase, and it was just my first interaction with Bob. It's probably about 5 years ago, but Bob was. And I'm sure I speak for everybody, just unassuming and and welcoming and just loving. There was nothing about Bob that was threatening. The nicest guy that I swear I've ever met. And I'm sure everybody has their great stories with the first time they had a conversation with him. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come up here and just to share my love for all the great times that I spent with him. And I wish that we had more, obviously. But I want to say thank you. Thank you for everybody that's come out here tonight. This is an amazing event. And I appreciate the opportunity to share this with all of you and to memorialize Bob. And cheers to Bob.
Cheers.
There you go. All right.
Come on.
Courtney.
It's gonna be really short.
That's okay.
Not like me, but.
Really short.
I said that to me.
Okay, hi, I'm Courtney. Raise the mic. 3 years ago, 2018, I actually joined the Tucson Storm Chasers. I was so nervous to actually post anything, to go out anywhere. And Bob and Greg actually were the first two people to invite me out and go chase. And that day I got to meet not only Bob and Greg, who without Bob driving, without Greg, allowing me to be there, I don't think I'd still be chasing. I don't think I'd even start chasing. And guess what, you guys? I got tornadoes this year, so. But I just want, he was just so welcoming, and I would have not met Melissa that day because we all kind of got stuck at the little, in Sonoyta, the little steakhouse, and just waiting, wondering where to go. And I was like, what's that? Radar? What? So I learned so much from him, and he had this passion, and ever since then, I haven't really known him that much, but when I do see him and I see his photos, I see his personality. So, amen. Yeah. That would be me. I totally.
So hi everybody, my name is Ryan Stuckey and I'm here representing Bob's work family. Maybe a different side than you're used to. So I met Bob in 1998, so about 23 years ago. I was a pup right out of school. I just got my engineering degree and I thought that I actually knew a little something about engineering. And I got paired up with a guy named Terry Hendricks and Gordon Broussard and a guy named Bob Tenor. And they quickly informed me that I didn't know anything about engineering. And they taught me literally everything that I know. And these guys just had all the knowledge in the world. And as was put to me, Bob was so valuable that I would probably never work with him because the senior engineer at the office, he worked for him and he was the best. And I can't overstate just how good Bob was at his job. He was phenomenal. And I say his job not as any one thing. If you don't know the history, Bob was in the Army where he learned surveying and came out and did field survey and got really good at that and decided he didn't want to be out in the sun anymore and decided to become a designer and go in the office, and he was fantastic at that and quickly moved up and even got to a role where he was a project manager and decided he didn't really want to be a project manager anymore. He liked being a designer and was the best. I mean, he was just the best that there was. I'll tell a real quick story because I know that Araceli won't come up here and talk, but she has a nice glimpse into his personality. There was a walk, I think it was 5 miles? It was a 5-mile walk that Araceli thought was much shorter than that and signed up for as a charity walk and was not prepared for it and was lagging behind and ended up bumping into Bob there because Bob was taking his time taking photos, of course, along the trail. And Bob said, hey, why don't you hang out with me? And they were the very last 2 people to come in on this walk, and she hung out with him for half the day doing this 5-mile walk, just taking pictures, which is, that's just what Bob was. He was so accommodating and friendly and just unassuming. And again, I can't overstate just in our field and in our work just how proficient he was. He was fantastic. So thank you, everybody.
Do you think Bob would like say, what are you guys doing talking right now? You should be taking pictures, right? Where's your cameras? If you guys can, like a couple of you guys with your cell phones, and I'm also going to turn this around and face you guys, my camera, so we can raise a glass to Bob right now. And then after, if anybody would like to continue to share stories, we're just going to keep this open mic. And then, we're just going to hang out afterwards and continue to share. Man, you know what? Thank you guys for, even those that Bob worked with and his relatives and the people who loved him and Marta, everybody that's just sharing these amazing, Bob would say, Lori, shut up so we can take a picture.
And one more thing, we need to do a group picture with everybody because Bob was very big on group pictures. So we need to make sure we do at least one group picture with everybody before everybody leaves.
Shauna, will you raise the glass? Shauna, will you do the toast? There you go.
All right, to Bob.
Hold on. Woo! Keep them up. I'm recording video. There you go. All right, to Bob. To Bob. Bob. This is for you, Bob. Drinks up. This is the group shot. Look at all these people. You're gonna get tighter. Come in. You can have 3 rows, and then we can do like Dale. Oh my gosh, that's huge! Woo! Look at the sizes.
Layers. I can't see everybody back there.
Right?
Come on, more chairs. We got some more chairs.
Can't see you.
I'm gonna just say, just one of those really Bob things. We had been shooting the moon, me and Tanya and Bob, and afterwards, I asked him if he had eaten dinner yet, and he said no, and I told him there's this I know he loved Mexican food. That was one of his other passions besides photography, was food. Yeah. Particularly Mexican food. So we went to this little spot close to downtown called the Taco Shop. And he'd never been there, and he asked me what's good. And I said, I really like the chile relleno burrito. So he ordered that, but he not only ordered that, he one-upped it. And he asked them if they could put carne asada in it. So he got a carne asada, chile relleno burrito, and then he asked them if he could make it into a chimichanga. So he two-upped it, and then when he got it, he told me, when he took that first bite, he said he was pretty sure that he heard a choir of angels singing. So that's my happy Bob story that I wanted to tell today.
Dark. And it was actually here at Silver Bell Lake. Him and me and Jane Pruitt and Greg Wickoff and a couple other people all showed up, and none of us knew each other, and there was a couple of us women, and there's like more men than us, and we're like, you're not going to put us in the trunk, right? And kidnap us, right? Or put our bodies in the lake, right? We're all good, right? What are we doing here meeting with strangers in the middle of the night? So that's how I met Bob, and that's how our friendship started, was in the dark. And then there was a showing, and I met him in color. And I met a lot of you guys in color when you were displaying and printing up your photos. And that encouraged me, to get a little more braver and to get out there and start printing what I take and what I do. And I never thought I was ever as good as him or ever as good as anybody, but he always made me feel like an equal. And that was really, really special. He never, ever, ever made me feel less than. He always made me feel very welcoming. I could ask him anything. I could call him at any time. I'd be bored, and there were a couple times I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go spin some steel wool at this train track. Will you come? And he's like, yep. Can I bring somebody? I'm like, yep. And before you know it, we got like a handful of people, and we're shooting. And that's the Bob stories I got and the memories that I got. Besides, we almost killed ourselves hiking up over by A Mountain trying to shoot the moon. He's like, I thought there was a trail here. I'm like, Bob, you're gonna kill us, and I'm not carrying you down the hill. And Melissa was with us, and that was the last time I shot with Bob. And that's a very special memory I'll always have. So, thanks.
Thank you.
What stories?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I don't think you all know me. I don't know any of you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think you all know me. I don't know any of you, but one day a few weeks ago, we got a phone call from Marta. And her voice didn't sound very good. And she says, how do you know Bob Tenor? He's a photographer. And we were like, huh? We didn't know a Bob Tenor. She says, well, I found your business card in his wallet. And he just passed away 2 days ago. And we were just shocked. Let's start thinking, where do we meet him? And we thought we met him here at Sweetwater one day. And we said, well, is he a big, tall, black guy that I gave a business card to? No. So we hung up. We felt really bad that he had passed, even though we didn't really know him. And we kept scratching our heads. And the next morning, Gary, my husband, says, I think I know where we met him. I think it was just before COVID started. We went to the end of Speedway to photograph the full moon one time. And we ran into Bob and 2 other men. I believe one is Greg. And then who would the other one be? I'm trying to meet him.
Maybe Roger?
I don't remember their names, but
We did a Milky Way meetup not too long ago down there, and Roger was there.
well, I gave him our cards because I was telling him about the camera club that we belong to that they might want to be interested in, and that's how come our business card was in his wallet. That was a real surprise, but we remembered that, and then we called and told Marta, where is she? Anyway, that's my quick story about my not knowing Bob, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christian.
Hi, Christian.
Hello. I actually met Bob on Instagram. He and I were kind of Instagram buddies. I'd never seen him before. And Bob was one of these kind of charismatic guys. I think his stuff got posted on like KEGA 9, KOLD. All the news stations wanted to have his stuff, and they were competitive about it. And I would always, every once in a while, be like, dude, what are you doing? What are your lens techniques? And we were the biggest geeks you could possibly ever find, proper Poindexters, like, wow, we're using a 70 millimeter at the SF style, it was the kind of stuff I love chatting with him about. And I'd never seen the guy. He was kind of like a mystery to me. And we had recently just finished up filming this movie over on Mount Lemon, and I was on my way down. It was a long day, and we had like a whole cooler just full of drinks there. Nobody was there. And I stopped off over at Windy Point one of these days. It's kind of, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like a good midpoint, some of the most gorgeous shots. In fact, some of the shots that you see in the calendar here are shots that he's actually taken over at that particular point. And I remember one time heading over there after we were done with this movie, and there was some guy shooting some landscapes. He was doing clearly some kind of night photography. And I'm always the kind of guy who always goes up and is just like, what kind of gear are you using? Are you using Canons? Are you using some Rokinons over here? And I saw this guy taking his shots, and I'm like, oh, cool, what are you doing? And there he was, the man himself. And for those of you who have actually seen him before, he's a sharp-looking guy. As a fellow beard haver, you're like, whoa, that's a good beard. And he was tremendously generous with his time. He had the most kind, altruistic soul to him. And as a matter of fact, he also helped me slam down, I think, 12, 13, or 14 White Claws in the back of my car. So we were just sitting there just kind of taking photos and like, I don't think we can drive home right now, man. And the kind of conversation that ensued afterwards was like one of these 4 a.m. chats that you have like with your roommates in the middle of the night. You know, the epistemic, like the philosophical ones. And he was such a sweetheart about it. We finally got the chance to go home. And on our way home, somebody's car had died somewhere along the mountain, which is very dangerous in the first place. And he's like, I'm gonna go stop, I'm gonna see if they need some help. And I had to go home because I had to edit. And he texts me later, he's like, oh, I finally got finished with that. I'm like, what now? It's 4 hours later. And he was truly, truly generous with his time. And I hope he's always forever remembered as the kind, generous, altruistic man that he's been to all of you. And as to a good man who can help me slay some White Claws whenever I need to. Yeah. Cheers.
We did a trip up to the Grand Canyon. I haven't met him yet. Sorry.
It's all right. Take your time.
I'm so glad to see you all. Finally. We all went out to the Grand Canyon. I met Bob, Daniel Clark, and Toci, and my friend Heath out there about midnight. I got there late because they were texting me, telling me to come down there and shoot some photos with them. So why the hell not? It's only about 4 hours from Phoenix, right? So midnight I show up, they tell me to meet them at a certain cliff, and when I get out there, they have hopped numerous cliffs over the Grand Canyon with drops straight on down. And Daniel Clark was off in the distance taking pictures, and I started blinking my lights. And Daniel said to Bob, hey, there's Joan. Let's go get her. And first thing, Bob, in fact, jumped like checkerboard through the cliffs and met me in the car and then guided me back out through these certain cliffs just to meet him out there. Just a genuine, nice guy. Later on that evening, we get back to the hotel. The next evening, we're going out to breakfast, going out to lunch, we're shooting the Grand Canyon again. We get back to the hotel, we're gonna have some beers. Toci and I have our own girls' hotel, the boys have their hotel. And I go and I knock on the door and I'm like, we're not done shooting yet. What are we doing in a hotel, right? It's only 9 o'clock. So, I knock on the door, Bob answers the door, and well, Bob, why aren't we going across the street from this hotel to shoot at Bedrock City with the Flintstones? He's all, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. So him and I walk across the street, we asked the owner if we can take some pictures in their backyard, and they said yes. So in return, we sent them some photos that we were taking that evening. Little did they know that we had some fire breathers out there. And first thing, we got there and we start kind of scoping around the area, seeing what we're gonna shoot. Bob runs a time lapse, right? Because he runs these beautiful starry night time lapses that I figured out the next day when he posted it. I was just in awe that I met the guy. We kind of light up this room with our flashlights, and Bob brings out a big whiskey bottle. Like, this is like over 40 ounces, like Costco whiskey bottle. And I'm like, this quiet young man, you know, very nice guy, like brings the party, you know? And me, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna stick to my beer, but anyways, we end up probably 4 hours in Bedrock City, drinking the night away and laughing and having fun. And then there's like dinosaurs next to us, and of course Bob is taking pictures with us with the dinosaurs. And I mean, it was all fun. So anyways, toward the end of the night, Bob tried breathing fire, and it was exciting, and he almost got away with it. I mean, he did good. So, my folks live here in Tucson, and I come down here frequently to see him, and I think I've spent more time with Bob and Greg, more than I did my own folks. We used to go out in the desert every evening, no matter what, when I came down here to see folks. these guys were on call, and we would go to Gleason. We would go to places like those dinosaur boulders looking places. What is that? Dragoon? Yeah. We would have no destination to go, but we would get lost there. And Bob was always encouraging to try something new, you know. And I have to say, I don't think I would be doing the things I do this day without friends like that, and without friends like you guys I have met. Bob actually had got me there. And anywho, he the adventures that we had with him, and I've met you all on the same grassy knoll, you know. And man, good times. And I'm so glad that I got to cherish it with you. And I'm so glad my two great friends, Bob and Greg, you know, shared such a kind, awesome friendship with us too. And they're family. You guys are family, and we'll miss you, Bob.
As a non-photographer, I would be at these kind of meetups, and Bob would see me not really knowing anyone, and he would just come up to me and start talking to me like he had a really kind heart, and he kind of did that to people, just made them feel better and more welcome about stuff. He was one of the first photographers Melissa met, and I was kind of worried for her, and when I found out he was a really good guy, that just made me feel really good. And I noticed he started like always coming to the events, everything. He was just really reliable. He would always be there. Like I keep looking around and seeing like everyone with glasses, I think it's Bob for a second, because I'm just so used to seeing him everywhere. And this was before I even knew like how good he was at photography. And he showed up to one of Melissa's galleries, and I looked at one of his pictures too, and he had a picture of someone at a lake doing the steel wool spinning, and he had a reflection of it in the water, and then he turned it sideways and it made it look like a skull. And I just thought that was the most creative thing, and I was just like, holy shit, this guy's good. And just seeing some of his other works, and the way when there was a big group of people, everyone would be kind of in the same area taking pictures, and he'd go out of the way to get a real unique perspective, like through trees or something, just frame it up really nice. And I just really respected that. And I'm just so glad like that he met Marta, and that he has all of you guys as friends too, because he was really nice and just deserved all that love. Thank you.
Nice and close, people. Pretend you like each other for just a minute, okay? Just 1 minute.
Pretend we're sorry.
That's my face at her butt. Who are we looking at?
All right,
Greg.
We're looking at Robert.
Robert, who are we looking at?
Everybody, I never get my side of the camera.
Where's your
Everybody
timer?
say, love Bob. Nice. Do it one more time. Love Bob.
Love Bob.
Beautiful. I was about 80 shots, so well.
Should we all jump at the same time?
Let's do a jump shot.
That would be great.
Does everybody have their glass with them?
No. Go grab it.
It's all right.
Right. There you go. Photoshop it.
All right, there's going to be some Photoshop in here.
It's a white one. Are you jumping? I jumped.
Hey, who hired this guy?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody say Storm Chasers.
Storm Chasers.
Everybody say Milky Way.
Milky Way.
I think the Storm Chasers beat the Milky Way.
It's been a long season.
That's it.
All right, baby. Okay.
Look at that sunset. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, that was